Hey folks, Rob here, bringing another unboxing. This time it's going to be another unbagging. So what we're looking at is a Wacht Rhein from Lone Canuck Publishing. We have volume 1, uh, and we have volume 2. Now there is a third one available on the Lone Canuck site, and I do intend on getting it. And when I do, I'll of course unbag that one as well. So this Wacht Rhein is the German name for the operation that turned out to be the Battle of Bulge, as it's known in the West. Because of the large salient that they caused in the American lines. So let's go through the scenarios and see what's what. All right, so what we're going to be looking at first is volume 1 of the Wacht Rhein. Again, this is going to be the Battle of the Bulge, basically, 16 to 20 December for the first scenario pack. Now, this is a second edition, so I don't know what the difference is. I assume that George from Lone Canuck has added errata and such. So let's take a look. Now, as per normal, I'm going to be blocking out the orders of battle, and all you'll see is the MSRs and SSRs and victory conditions, that kind of thing. Right, first on the back of the cover, we have a little synopsis of some special rules that apply to all the scenarios. George really likes to use Bangalores in his missions, as well as having some rare squad values, like for example the Volksgrenadier 547s. Now these should be available in the Twilight of the Reich, so you don't have to necessarily use George's, but I think they are the same 547s. I don't know. I can't remember, to be honest, what those squads look like. So we're going to have some unique forces in some of these scenarios to represent the various missions. All right, first up we have New Boy. This is War 1, 16 December 44, uses 2 half-boards, 67 and 62, and 8 turns. Now, this does not have the time played on these scenarios. I'd like to see that on scenarios in general, how long it takes them to actually play it, so because I have no idea how long. What we're looking at is Americans setting up and the German moving first. So this will be like the first battle of the conflict, and it looks to be very small numbers of troops on the 2 half-boards. Now the attackers are the Germans, so you're only going to have about 10, 11 squad equivalents, whereas a defender you only have 3 squad equivalents and 2 tanks, the M36 GMCs. Tank destroyer battalions, of which the Germans don't have any tanks. So the 90 long should do quite the business on the IFT if you can get a hit. So it looks to be some of the SSRs, like number 2. This is something that George does a lot of, well, which I kind of like, but he makes unique scenarios. In this one here, we have Americans setting up 2 outposts, which consist of 3 trenches, an SMC, 3 multi-man counters, and a medium, as well as a bazooka and 1 heavy. So these are, rather than just putting them where you think they're best effect, somewhat historically he wants you to group your pieces together. So I think it's very cool like that. Another one that George likes to do is known minefield factors, including a number of dummies based off the number of minefield counters you do have. So that adds a little bit of variability and unknown to the mission. All right, looking at number 2, here we have Rising Tide. Uses 2 whole boards. There is 1 overlay. OG should be an open ground location. And Americans setting up, Germans moving, 9 turns. Looks like we have reinforcements coming on at variable points. Because of the circle numbers, 1, 2, 4, and 6. I assume that would be one of the SSRs. So in this case, we have American reinforcements coming on in the form of 3 Shermans and a couple of M5As. Coming in sometime between turns 3 and 6. As long as you roll less than or equal to that number that's circled, you'll get those kind of reinforcements. Troop count-wise, we have, again, quite low. Probably around 10, 12, maybe for the Germans, and the defending Americans themselves only have about 10, maybe 11 equivalent. But they do have 6 pieces of armor to help fight off. And on this one, we also have some credit notes George Kellen is the snare designer. Again, he's the guy behind Lone Canuck Publishing. And there's a nice list of play testers as well, so fairly small, but at least you can know that these snares have been play tested to some degree. Fat Sparrow's atop Skyline Drive. In this case, it is 8 turns. German sets up first, and he moves first. Interesting. We have variable reinforcements coming on. Once more, you have to roll less than or equal to the number under the turn. And this is going to be for the Americans. They're going to be getting 4 M4A3 Shermans coming on with an armor leader. So should come in to save the day. However, the Germans do have 3 Jagdpanzer 30 ATs. So it should be interesting, this one. Promising start uses half of 2 boards, 42 and 40. It uses the white area, not the masked off area. 7 SSRs, which tend to be on the heavy side. And once more, we have low numbers of troops. We have 5 crews and 4 squads for the anti-tank company. And then the German Volksgrenadier come in with 8 squad equivalents with a couple of Jagdpanzers in tow. So there are a lot of guns for the Americans. They have 5 in total, plus some defensive fortifications to deal with 2 Jagdpanzers and, as I said, 9 troops. War number 5, here we stand. This is 17 December 44, so the day after it all started. Uses 2 boards, 7.5 turns, and we have 5 SSRs to deal with. Numbers, not surprisingly, are going to be low. There's 4 full squads and 7.5 squads for the Americans. So that's, 7.5 equivalents, plus you have 3 M4A3s coming on. The Fallschirmjäger that are going to be the Germans come on board with a good 15, plus again 2 armor pieces, and this time in the form of the Stug 3Gs. All right, Private Venture number 6. 6.5 turns, so looks to be quite manageable. 17 December. We do have some hip units for the Americans. And a lot of tanks. Wow. So the Americans set up first, and they have 6 M4 105s, 3 M4A3s, a couple of guns, but only have 4 squads and 2 crews for the 2 AT guns. So it's not a lot of attacking forces, definitely armor heavy. And the Germans, which are again represented by Fallschirmjäger, have 2 Stugs that enter on one of these turns, 2, 3, or 4. And fending off against all that armor, we're looking at, 11 squads? 11 squads with only 2 Panzerschrecks and 2 81 mortars to deal with the armor. I don't think they're going to get very close enough to be hit with the FT or the DCs, but you never know. At least holding the fort until some Stugs show up to help punch holes in the armor. Number 7, Audacity on Omaha. We have Americans setting up and the Germans moving first. 7.5 turns, and he uses a sliver of board 40 and about half of board 53. The picture indicates a railway, but I don't see one anywhere in the SSR to set up. Squad numbers are, you have 6 American squads, you have 3 M4A3s again, facing off against 9 Volksgrenadier with a Shrek and a few mediums. I got 4 mediums, that's quite a lot. Elar is 3, Sand is 2 for the Germans, so it's going to be, normally when you think of Battle of the Bulge, you think SS, Camp Piper, that kind of thing. So it's good to see these scenarios that don't have that. They have Volksgrenadier and more customized, and other units that took place or took part in the offensive. Here we have 7.5 turn, and this is number 8, Bastogne Roadblocks. 10 squads versus, wow, you get 3 and 3 squad equivalents for the Germans. But they do have armor. They have armored cars. They have half tracks. And they have 3 Panthers. So, all right. So looking at Volume 2 then, we have 8 more scenarios to add. This one takes place 20 to 30 December. Once more, we're probably going to be looking at non-SS units versus Americans. So let's take a look. On the back, again, we have our information, scenario special rules that apply to all the scenarios. Discusses Fallschirmjäger replacements as well as Volksgrenadier, assault engineers, etc. So this does come with counters in the Volume 1 pack to reflect all the other counters. So I don't have those right now. Dave still has those, but it should be typical like most Lone Canuck Publishing. You'll get the idea of what they entail. You're going to see a lot of the custom units. You might see some 667s as well as the Volksgrenadier squads, and of course the 548, 547s. First up is number 9, continuing on with the numbering convention. We have Wacht am Rhein number 9, big bonus. Interesting face buddies making there. We've got 3 boards, only 5 SSRs, which is nice, and very low squad count for the Americans. However, they do have, looks to be a couple of armored car half tracks, and some carriers as well as a few tanks. A few, I mean by that I mean 8 tanks facing off against 10 German squads with 16 second line 447s as well as 4 Panthers again coming in. So it's a bit of a melee going on. Number 10, line in the sand, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 overlays on most of board S. Now board S should be coming in the starter kit boards. I'm unfamiliar with what the board looks like off of memory, but that's where you should find it. 6.5 turns. All right, so I've just realized we do have play times available. So on the first one is 6.5 hours. On war number 10, we have 5 hours, 27 minutes, which is very playable in a day. Again, like the previous Volume 1, we do have information on playtest. Looks to be a few more, so that adds a little bit more variety. In terms of units, we're looking at a dozen almost parachute American airborne versus 12 various types of Panzer units. So we have 467s, 548s. We got a couple of Jagdpanzer 470s as well as some Mark IVs, and then 4 half tracks to round off the movement. So American sets up, Germans move. And it looks like, provided the American has no unbroken MMC on adjacent to a road network, the German win a game end by exiting 8 or more unbroken squad equivalents off of the west edge, with a Panzer IV and a Jagdpanzer IV each counting as 2 squads. Now, because the Germans are going to be entering in from the east edge, which is here on the right, to the towards the left, all the American units will be able to set up. Now they do have dismantled mediums set up, so I don't know if you're going to do any kind of bore setting availability, because you're allowed that if the enemy does not start on board. But because you're forced to have dismantled mediums and the mortar, you may, I don't think you'll be allowed to set up any kind of bore sighting situation. I wonder if that's what that represents. Penny packets, 8 turns, 6, almost 7 hours. Wow. 3 Panthers and a dozen Germans versus, about 10 or so. No, yeah, about 10, 15-ish squads against of Americans, including engineers. And they do have a set of 4 half tracks, but the Germans do have 3 Panthers, so it's going to be difficult, I would think, for the Americans to deal any kind of good damage to the Panthers. They got the 18 frontal armor, which is just going to suck. All right, number 12, just short. 2 boards, 7.5 turns, 7 hour on the dot playtime. However, we have 11 SSRs, which is really heavy. And as well, you also have the ones on the back of the front page. So there's a bit of information you're going to have to take on for this scenario. Troop-wise, we've started to climb up. We're looking at 12 squad equivalents, and we have, 3 tanks for the Americans, as well as some OBA. And the Volksgrenadier Germans are coming on with 12 plus another 3 as reinforcements, and they have half-tracks and Stugs. War 13, Austertrom, 6.5 turns. We got 4.5 hours, very playable for tournaments. Uses most of boards 23 and 49, and we only have 4 SSRs to worry about. Troop-wise, quite manageable. We're looking at 12 or so, plus 2 tank destroyers for the Americans. And the Germans themselves have 10 units, as well as 3 Panthers again. So once more, you got 2 76 long M18s versus 3 Panthers to do some kind of business on that. Americans also have 2 57 long AT guns, so it should help suppress the Panthers. But because the units was set up on board and the Germans enter from off board, looks to be like we're going to get some bore sighting allowed, as well as there's going to be a variable number of concealment counters for the American to use as dummy stacks, because again, everything will start up concealed on the American side. Cut the Houghton March Road, board number 14, excuse me, and most of 3 boards. Not sure why they left a little sliver unused. We're looking at 6 SSRs, 8 turns, and a whopping 9 hours to play this one. And the unit count isn't that crazy. Looking at about 15 Americans with 2 sets of OBA, plus a lot of support weapons. And the Germans are coming on with a couple of SIG 38s, some 4 Panthers, wow. And it looks to be 13 half-tracks of various types with their 9 squads. Once again, the Americans will be able to do bore sighting and everything will be concealed because the Germans enter from off board. Like this SSR-6, battery access for all Americans are never lost permanently due to 2 red chits. So this is, I believe, the Pleva rule, where if you draw a red chit, it goes back into the battery access pile, and then you add another red chit. So you're never going to run out of OBA in the course of a mission. It just may be more difficult to get, but you can still get it. And blacks would come out of the drop pile as per normal, and you might see a huge imbalance of red to black, but again, that's just means that you're not ever going to really lose it for sure. Glimpse of the Muse, 25 December 44, so Merry Christmas to this one. 9 SSRs, very small, so that should be manageable. And we have the Germans on the defense this time, 8 turns and a whopping 16.5 hours to play. Okay, interesting. We have, 6 German squad equivalents, a lot of vehicles, everything from flak Panzer IVs to half-track 250s, and armored cars as well. Again, the Panthers are making an appearance for 3. Americans, for their part, have a crap load of armor, including some Fireflies, with the 76 double long on it, and half-tracks, Jeeps, as well as air support in the form of a fighter bomber with bombs. Yeah, so two 44 fighter bomb. Oh, wait, sorry. They only have MGs. They do not have bombs. And there's a really good chance, based on SSR number 5, that most of the German armor is probably going to be out of gas and or immobilized. As well as ammo shortage for the Germans. And red movement numbers. Wow. going to be difficult. Now, the Germans do have winter camouflage for the infantry, so that's kind of good. But there's just so much mobility offered by the Americans, and they're coming at you with 12 squad equivalents, and as I said, a crap load of armor. And lastly, in Volume 2, we have number 16, Ambitious Ideas. Uses one of the double wide boards and half of two other boards, 85 and 5. 8 SSRs, and we have Fallschirmjäger versus 3rd Battalion, 137th Infantry. Now we do have fortified locations. We have about 15 squad equivalents for the Americans, 3 guns, and other defensive stuff, including some OBA. Fallschirmjäger, for their part, will have wow, that's a lot. 26 squads coming in different form. We also have 5 half-tracks and 7 Jagdpanzer 470s. So you're going to have to use some extra counters to represent those ones, I have no doubt. I think most AFV max out at 6 in your standard loadout. So for whatever reason, George gives these guys 7. Not an issue if you're on VASL, but if you're going to play this with counters, then obviously you're going to have to substitute something. We have 7.5 turns and just over 9 hours of play time. Now we do have 3 circle numbers, 2, 4, and 6 for turns 4, 5, and 6. But nowhere do I see when what comes on during that time. Because maybe there's oh, here we go. All right, so SSR number 3, on a reinforcement die roll less equal to circle number, the Americans receive a fire mission of 155 OBA. Oh, there we go. So we have 1 fire mission, 155, and 1 black is withdrawn from the pile because you get automatic access on the first go. So sometime in here, you're going to be getting a 155 fire mission. And it should be interesting because I could see this by this turn. You're probably going to be closely engaged, so where you drop the 155 might be interesting. And there we have it, guys. Volume 1 of Wacht am Rhein, and Volume 2. Again, there is a 3rd volume to this that Lone Canuck Publishing has on their website. I'd highly recommend these ones. I'm going to be giving some of them a playthrough because we have the 80th anniversary of Battle of the Bulge coming up, and in line with that commemoration, I'll probably be doing something with Hex to Hex and Wardrobe and McMurray, and we'll probably dive into something Battle of the Bulge related, I assume. But either way, I'm still going to do it around about that time, so look forward to that. Yeah, so I think they're a good purchase. Lone Canuck is very innovative, is that the term, for the way that they design their scenarios. A lot of variables and very realistic. Now, again, I have no idea about balance terms. Are they balanced or not? I don't know, but they seem to have a fairly good playtest list of players. I hope that these were well vetted, and you can always find out on Scenario Archive what the rating is and then play the best one, which I'm probably going to do right now. All right, guys, we'll see you next video. Have a good one. Bye-bye.